Hey YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back into Oh Hey Sports, and today we are going to have a quick conversation about college football's top 25. So they were released yesterday. Today is August 16th. They were released yesterday, and I think they're pretty interesting. I wanted to talk about them really quick. But before we get into that, if you like the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. If you want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love that. Leave some comments. The YouTube algorithm seems to like that. Please, the YouTube gods. And then without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. And if you're watching this on Twitch right now, please feel free to hit that follow button and subscribe if you're able to. I'm not sure if folks can do that yet because I don't have enough followers. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay. So, first thing I'm going to do is put my headphones on just to make sure there's nothing else random playing in the background because I've made that mistake once today already. All right. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring up the top 25. So get my webcam, lower that down, bring it down here. I think I can make myself a little bigger on this one. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. Doesn't sound like anything's playing. Love it. Okay. So as I said earlier, the college football rankings were released yesterday, and today there's something interesting about this college football season that I'm really kind of excited about. And that is the fact that it kind of feels like the last hurrah for college football as we know it. Because as many of you know, there's like college football realignment happening all over the place. You have, the big one, probably the most notable of them all being the, Texas and Oklahoma heading off to the SEC. I believe next year, if not the year after. I believe it's next year. And then next year you have UCLA and USC bailing the Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. So this is going to be the very last year that we kind of see college football in its original form, or I guess the form that we've all kind of grown to know and love. So, and especially for me, someone who lives in Pac-12 territory, it is going to be really, really weird, especially because my college where I went to school, Washington State University, is probably going to get left out of all of this conversation. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the top 25 that were released the other day. So go ahead and scroll all the way down here. Thank you, CBS, for this. So at the very top, I think, we have Alabama. That surprises absolutely nobody. As a matter of fact, I would say the top top five don't really surprise anyone at all. Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame. Not really surprised about all that. Notre Dame may be a little high, but I always feel like the beginning of the season, I feel like, I don't know, not that I'm super big into conspiracy theories, but I just feel like that every time Notre Dame, they always end up placing Notre Dame a little higher than they probably should be, just for no other reason, just to get some clicks and to get some debate going around it. And of course, this is the AP. Let's see. Which one was I thinking? Yeah, AP Top 25 season Monday. Yeah, okay. And then when things start to get a little bit interesting, Texas A&M, they were a team that had an immensely huge recruiting year this year. So I'm a little surprised to see them at 6. I figured they would be in the top 5, if not maybe ahead of Notre Dame. But Texas A&M, Utah, I'm a little surprised to see at 7. Finally, Texas isn't in the top 10. Amen. Yes, I know. Texas, I feel like, again, kind of like Notre Dame, I feel like it's just one of those teams that are always just slightly overvalued. And the fact that Texas isn't in the top 10, I think, is kind of a blessing. But they're on here somewhere. We'll get to them here in a few minutes. But Utah, this is kind of an interesting one for me. I know they had a good year last year. I know that they were young and they are growing up kind of right in front of our eyes. But Utah, 7 seems a little high. If they were at like 11 or 12, I feel like that would be much more appropriate. Again, just speaking on Utah, just because, I live in Pac-12 territory, I know a little bit more about them. The fact that they're right behind Texas A&M, I think, is a little bit of an overstatement for Utah. No offense to any Utes fans out there. But 17. Yeah, I think 17 would be a fairly good spot for Utah as well. But moving on, we have Michigan and Oklahoma and Baylor to round out the top 10. I don't really have any issues with that. Michigan, Oklahoma, and Baylor are really, really good teams. Baylor is going to be a surprisingly good team this year. Would not be surprised at all if they won the Big 12 in its kind of farewell season in what its current form is. Oregon at 11, I know, was another one that kind of took me by surprise here. Oregon is, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Looks like it's a little hard to see. There we go. Now we're in business. Here we go. Yeah, Oregon at 11 was another one of those teams I was a little bit surprised to see as high as they are. Oregon, to me, with, hold on. There it is. Yeah. Oregon is going to be good. I know they had a phenomenal draft class this year. Or not draft class. They had a phenomenal recruiting year this last year, and they really are going to have a lot of key weapons coming in. I know they had that quarterback commit from Michigan to, not University of Michigan, but from the state of Michigan to Oregon. He was like a top 3 quarterback of last year's high school rankings. So I think Oregon may be getting a little bit of a boost from that, but ultimately I'm a little surprised to see Oregon as high as they are. I had them somewhere in the maybe the 15, 16 range. Moving on, Oklahoma State, 12. Makes sense to me. Oklahoma State's offense is always going to be an absolute menace, so not at all surprised to see them there in the top 15. North Carolina State, can't say I know too much about them, but I know their defense is always really stout, so not surprised to see them there. USC at 14. Not going to lie, if I were to make my predictions of what I think the top 25, the Auburn guy, yeah. If I had to make a prediction of where I thought USC was going to end up before taking a look at all this, I would have pictured them as the most highly rated Pac-12 team, if for no other reason, the Lincoln Riley effect. Having him there in the Pac-12, I think would give them a huge boost. The fact that they're at 14, little surprising to me. I figured they would be kind of more where Oregon is, probably 11th or 12th. But 14, I think, is a fair one, not too bad. Michigan State, Miami, 15, 16, no issues there. Pittsburgh at 17. This one also kind of had me scratching my head a little bit. Now, Caleb went to my high school. Caleb who? Yeah, Peter who? Caleb who? Oh, yeah, there's a little bit of a delay in from what you're seeing and then what I'm broadcasting. Okay, I can see I see you're typing, but okay. So I'll go ahead and get back to your comment here in a second once that loads. Okay. Caleb Williams. Oh, okay, I see. Let me take a look at him really quick. Yeah, Caleb Williams, football quarterback. Is he the guy that is football for the USC Trojans, stars Oklahoma Sooners? Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember now. Yeah, I had to just hit the quick Google search really quick. So he was Lincoln Riley's quarterback in Oklahoma, and then he transferred to USC to continue that track with them. I figured, really, that's really cool. He went to high school with them. That's pretty awesome. But again, you have Caleb Williams, and you have Lincoln Riley together. They were in the Big 12. Now they're in the Pac-12. I figured that being that the narrative being that the defenses in the Big 12 aren't as good, that this is going to be a situation where USC was just going to absolutely knock everybody's socks off. Doesn't seem to be the situation based on the AP polls. I think maybe it's also just, it's the Pac-12. They're top, they're still USC, but they're only in the Pac-12, so just, whatever. But then again, they also rated Utah 7th, so I don't know. Anyway, kind of getting back to Pittsburgh, that's where I was. I'm curious to see what Pittsburgh can do with life after Kenny Pickett. I guess they may have had a really great recruiting class this year because I figured that once Kenny Pickett left, that their stock in the AP would just absolutely plummet. But here they are at 17, so I guess good for them. They should have a good year in the ACC as far outside of Clemson and let's see here. What's the ACC? I want to take a look at who's in the ACC this year. I feel like with all the talk of conferences realigning, I feel like I've just completely forgot who is where. No, I want the ACC, Atlantic Coast Conference. Here we go. So with Pittsburgh, let's see, Duke, Georgia Tech, NC, North Carolina, Virginia, Miami, Pittsburgh. They should finish top 2-3 in the at least the ACC Coastal. So maybe that's why. Maybe someone looked at them and was like, okay, well, where are they going to finish in relation to the other teams in the ACC Coastal, and then gave them a rank based on that. Wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Wisconsin, little surprised to see them down at 18, but glad they're in the top 25. Wisconsin's always seems to be like a really good team and always kind of knock on the door of winning the Big 12 of the Big 10. But just, when you're in the same division as the Michigans and Ohio State, well, not the same division, but they're in the same conference as them, you're bound to get overlooked a little bit. 19, Arkansas and Kentucky rounding it out. Good for Kentucky for getting into the top 20. I feel like they're not a major inclusion in this. Good for them. Ole Miss, can't say I'm too surprised to see them in the top 25. A little surprised to see them all the way down at 21. Wake Forest is going to have a good year, but I think a lot of people have question marks about them. Cincinnati and Houston and BYU. If I'm not mistaken, these are the three teams that are going to be going into the Big 10 next year. Or not the Big 10, the Big 12 next year. So I'll be very curious to see how they do this year. BYU has a game, I believe, against Oregon State to kick off the season. BYU schedule. And I think that's going to do a lot for them. Oh, no, they're playing against Oregon, not Oregon State, Oregon. Yeah, 25 BYU at Oregon. So that should be a pretty fun game. That'll be a nice, fun top 25 preseason matchup to get the season going. Especially for the Ducks. I think this could be a trap game for them if I'm being completely honest. Just because I don't really know what to think or what to make of Oregon yet. And BYU seem to have had an amazing recruiting class. So we'll see what ends up happening with BYU. Who are the teams moving to the Big 12? I believe it's Cincinnati, Houston. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and then UCF are moving to the Big 10 next year, or the Big 12 next year, excuse me. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they pan out. I think the general perception of how they do this year is going to be the general perception of what the Big 12 is going to look like next year, provided the Big 12 and the Pac-12 don't come to some kind of agreement as well. But we'll see. I'm excited for the college football season to get going. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially in college football's, I don't want to say college football's swan song, but it's the swan song of college football in the way that we know and understand it to be right now. But yeah, what do you all think of the top 25? Do you think the AP got it right? Would you move some teams around? And if so, who would you move where and why? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you liked the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. Feel free to hit that subscribe button and leave some comments to please the YouTube gods. Otherwise, have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one, guys. Bye. Bye. Take care. See you later.